there's a good reason that people are either ignorant of or question the presence of God, of the overmind, of the unconscious mind, and of the total wisdom it is. The intellectual or conscious aspects of mentation are all humanhood concerns itself with, really, or trusts, which is sort of like putting the intellect in front of the horse, and then wondering why we are forever falling into ditches and stumbling against curbstones, smashing against walls, worrying about government, business, family, home. Well, at this point, the question might be, okay now, Bill, just how does one actually find his tangible place? How does one find the intangible place become tangible place? What am I to do? Well, that's the kind of question I like, because if this truth is anything at all, it is practical and applicable, easily applicable. And I told you earlier what I did. I said that for myself it was a matter of naked childlikeness, of total acceptance, of unquestioning trust, and a joyful anticipation. Now, I mean by that naked childlikeness in the acceptance of awareness as the identity I am, a total acceptance of it, an unquestioning trust in the ineffable mind, which is being this awareness I am, and this awareness and mind, one mind, and then the joyful anticipation of the overmind festing conscious awareness with what knowledge it needs at the moment. Now, and when I said it before, perhaps I sounded naive. Perhaps it seemed esoteric or impractical, but I bet you it's beginning to make a little sense now. Practical sense, you see, tangible sense. Now listen, if every living thing on the face of the earth is told of the most intricate things in ample time, like the squirrel there knows of the winter, the birds know how to gather and how to weave and how to build in ample time. And if everything, every living thing on the face of the earth knows of all of this and knows what it needs to know, and then finds itself acting to do, actually acting to do what appears necessary, then what the devil is so impractical about my trust or about our trust that mine will do as much for us right here, right now? What is so difficult to accept, like a child, that the divine place, the holy place, the secret place, the Shekinah is, and it already is, within the whole mind, within the, if you want to say, the subconscious or unconscious, and that it's, and that that's what is here and now singing these words. Just as an unbuilt nest exists in the unconscious of every birdling that hops in the tall meadow grass, so our Shekinah is. It exists now. And I relax with a childlike heart. I acknowledge this, and I accept this, and I believe it because it's so. Because I've lived it so. I've proven it so. I know it so. All right, so I believe it so. I accept it, I acknowledge it, and so forth. But what next? What next? Intellectualism is entitled to a better statement than that, a statement of faith. Well, for myself, I think that I can tell you that anticipation plays a part for me. Now, anticipation of what? Well, I know that if the overmind, the divine mind, is being this awareness and includes within itself all facts, all wisdom, all knowledge, then I anticipate that that wisdom will be imparted to the conscious awareness I am in ways that I can apprehend. And for the moment, it serves me to say that I just anticipate the movement of wisdom, or the answer, the knowledge of what to do or what not to do, to move from mind, the unconscious, perhaps to the subliminal, and then from the subliminal to the conscious. Very often for me it moves simply to the subliminal, and it's picked up from that point, and I find myself subliminally listening, hearing. This is especially true, as all of you know, during those periods of meditation, during periods of being quiet, during that time just before we fall asleep in the evening, or at that time when we first awaken, or when we awaken in the middle of the night. We are so able during those times to hear the subliminal, because there's not so much to appear to contradict it. The intellect is still sleeping, I guess. Well, in any event, it seems that the so-called conscious mind of us has to do with practical, intellectual matters. That is, the conscious mind is primarily the intellectual mind. And it is concerned with the day-to-day well-being of the individual body's experience and the scene that is perceived, that it go all right. Well, inasmuch as this so-called conscious mind of us has to do with the practical and with the intellectual, we find that the child heart of us, which picks up on the subliminal, that seems to be the recipient of the wisdom that comes from the unconscious, the child heart seems to know what to do about whatever is cogent. And in this manner, we find ourselves simply acting, simply doing, being, just like the squirrel there, like the bird about the business of tending its young. And we find ourselves simply acting without all of the planning of yore, and the thinking, struggling, and the worrying, and the uptightness. In essence, we find ourselves doing what is necessary to find the tangible store for the winter. That is, we find the tangible bough on high, where the nest is to be built, and then we find ourselves making the intellectual effort, effortlessly, that secures a tangible place that no storm can dislodge and no evil befall. And all that right here in this people, places, and things circus. In short, the anticipation of this move from the divine mind to its own conscious awareness, which is the functioning of the divine mind, is intuitive living. Well, how do I know this is so? How do I know that it works like this? Well, I can only know for myself by observing this awareness I am, and by living the fact of it, and I know it that way. I know that by letting the fact of mind live me, that I live intuitively in a manner much more lucid and carefree than ever I was able to do before, by trusting and believing like a child that if God, the mind that is all, can care for the least sparrow with a knowledge of the most intricate matters of survival, including all of the little small things that we are seeing this very moment, the beauty of the moment, the blue sky of the moment, those little birds over there fluffing in the pond. Well, if it can include all that, then most certainly this awareness's view of a very confused and terrified and intimidated humanity can be told that it need not be confused, terrified, or intimidated, but that it can relax and it can rest and it can become childlike trustful